Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Mike Kollin at crackthefemalcode.com. Okay, so this is going to be the second part to the last video. Are you rude to women on accident? This is going to be a much shorter and much more direct to the point video. Now, the reason why I use those words, shorter, direct, to the point, those are male language words. Those are left brain words that men like. We like that language because that's the language we speak. Now, right now, you're like, what are you talking about? You won't really see it until you open up to the right brain and learn how to speak the right brain language, which gets you beautiful women like this. Here's the deal. The left brain, the male brain, does not like the indirect language. In fact, we think it's hooey-fooey. We think it's bullshit because we don't understand it. My course, Crack the Female Code, teaches you how to understand it clearly. It makes it effortless. It makes it easy. So even though you're going to be doing the indirect language after you take my course, Crack the Female Code, you're going to do it in a step-by-step way, which is what the left brain likes to do. So I'm not going to, it's going to be too complicated. I'm not going to try to explain in this video, but there is a method to this madness. That's all I'm saying. And once you get the method, you get the cuties. If your wife or girlfriend's angry at you and you feel like there's nothing else you can do, this is the course to take. All right, let's get straight to the point. Okay, so in the last video, I asked you a question. Are you rude on accident? In other words, do you communicate in a way that is perceived and or received by the female brain as what they consider to be rude? So the answer is yes. The linear logical language is irritating and rude and disrespectful to the right brain. Now, I'm not saying you're doing it on purpose, and okay, watch this. It's going to sound confusing. I'm not saying you're actually being rude. I'm saying the way that men communicate in the left brain language, women are like, why are men like that? Why are they so rude? So in the last video, I would go around and ask hundreds of women. I did this for years. I would walk up to women like at stores and stuff, say, hey, can I ask you a question? They're like, yeah, what's that? I'm like, have you ever noticed how direct and honest men are? I am telling you guys, 100% of the women almost responded verbatim with, I know. How rude, how disrespectful, what's wrong with men? That was their typical response. Now here's why. The left brain language is called the direct language. The right brain does not like being direct. It thinks it's rude and disrespectful. I'm going to give you an actual real life example of of a real life story that happened that'll help your brain to understand what women mean. And once you listen to the story, you're going to be like, you know what, that actually makes sense. And here's the funny thing, you did this all the time without realizing it. And then here's what happened. Okay, before I get the story. A woman would be like, what's wrong with you? Like your girlfriend, your wife, like, why do you always do this? Why are you so rude? Or why are you so, whatever. Might even say so direct. And you're like, what the hell's wrong with that? Because to men, being direct is the correct way. See, I'm using this as an example to help you begin to understand what Crack the Female Code is really about. We are wired in the opposite direction for romance, love, and seduction. And our languages, the left brain language versus the right brain language, they literally go in two completely different directions, and they use two different processors, which gives a different meaning to every word that you say. So when she says A out of her right brain, you unconsciously bring it over to your left brain and process it through the logical linear external processor, and it changes the meaning to every word she just said. So she's saying A, but you would swear to God she's saying B when she's not. And you will both argue to death. You said this and this means that. And she was like, no, I said this and this means that. Here's the deal. It's the same words, but the left brain and the right brain give two completely different meaning to the same words. A lot of times we're arguing and fighting when we're actually agreeing and saying the same thing. We're just saying it in two completely different languages. Men and women do not understand each other at all. That's how different we are. But my course, Crack the Female Code, answers all of these dilemmas in completion. All right, this is just one example. Here we go. Okay, so I was at my buddy Greg's house. He was having a party. It was just a social gathering of pretty much mostly close friends and, like his wife's sisters and their husbands and a couple friends associated. It wasn't a big party. I'm guessing 25, 30, 35 people. And a group of people broke off and went into the kitchen. So I happened to be with this group. We were in a circle. There was... let's see. Okay, so there was this guy and his wife, and then there was me, and there was a couple people who I don't really know who they were even then, even now. And then there was this other girl kind of across from this guy and husband that were next to me. So they're across the circle. So we were in a circle talking in the kitchen. And so what happened was the girl that was across from us was the sister to the guy that was married next to me. I might remember the names right now. I'm drawing a blank. Sorry about that. And I might even just make up their names just to make the story go along. So what happened was this other guy walked into the room, joined our group, and the woman next to me, the married woman, her sister, which was across from us, obviously liked him. Now, I'm saying obvious for me because I was in my right brain. I could see right brain body language. And so I forget what she said to this new guy that joined the group, but she said a couple things, blah, 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 blah. And what happened was the woman next to me, her husband was in logical left brain linear mode, completely clueless. Okay. The reason why is because the left brain is like you have blinders on, like you can only see what's directly in front of you. That's why it's called the direct brain. You say A and you mean A, you speak directly. The problem is human behavior, even language and body language, is usually indirect, which is a right brain process. If you are not in the right brain, if you cannot catch these things and pick up on these things, women will look at you like you are, I'm just going to say it, like you're dumb. Not just like you're being dumb in the moment, but like you're a stupid human being. Like, how did you miss that? I mean, because when you're in your right brain, it's really obvious. This is why women will say to men when they finally catch on after everyone else has, like, oh, really? Yeah, right on, Captain Clueless, or Captain Catch a Clue, or whatever they say. It's because they're kind of looking at you like, really, dude? Like, you're finally catching on, you're trying to tell us who caught it right off the bat? So the woman next to me, let's call her Sarah. So she's married, and the woman across from her, so we're all in our, like, mid-20s, maybe some people were like 32, something like that. And her sister across from us was fat, okay? We'll call her Sally. Now the thing about Sally is a bit, no, it's more, no, she's more than a bit. She's overweight. She is definitely could use to lose some weight. So Sarah's husband, out of nowhere, now, oh yeah, by the way, so the fat girl, I hate to say it, I'm so sorry, but Sally, we'll call him, I'm getting the names mixed up. She is trying to flirt with a good-looking guy who just walked into the room, who's joined the group, and she's saying a couple things here and there, and all the women in the circle have really picked up on, oh, she likes this guy. Everyone, including me, gets this except for Sarah's husband. We'll call Sarah's husband Tom, or Captain Oblivious. So Sally's squirming and smiling, and her voice even changed. Like it was a huge change in her persona, her personality, the way she's talking. And all of us except for Tom picked up on it, right? And so all the women in the group and myself. And so out of nowhere, Tom looks at her and says, you know what? You should join the gym. You should get on the treadmill and you should get on a diet program, and they have nutritionists there and you can hire them and they'll tell you how to eat and what to eat, and so you can lose weight so you can get a guy. Now here's the thing about it. This guy actually had his master's degree from Stanford. Smart guy. He was not a dumb guy by any means. Made a very good amount. I think he made like $150,000 a year. Now back then that was a lot of money, okay? That's probably equivalent to $300,000 now. And so he was not by nature a stupid guy, but when it came to right brain communication, just like your average normal male, and I'm talking 93+% of men are completely oblivious to this. So he blurts this stuff out like literally at one point he goes, you need to lose weight. You should join the gym. You should get on a diet program. You should eat healthy. And he's just blurting all this stuff out. And all the women were horrified. And I looked at him like, oh shit. His wife goes, oh my God, what's wrong with you? Why do you do that? Why are you so direct? And he's like, what? I'm trying to help. So she's like, you're so rude. She goes, I can't take you anywhere. And he repeats again, what? He goes, I'm trying to help her. Now, here's the thing. He actually was trying to help her. He was trying to give her tips and advice on what to do to lose weight so she could get a husband, etc., etc. In all sincerity, he did not realize he was being rude. He thought he was being helpful. He was not trying to be a jerk. So Sally's humiliated. So let me give you a female version of how you could say the same thing, but in the indirect language. Now this is just a very rough thing. It's not going to teach you how to do it professionally or nothing. You're going to have to take the course, Crack the Female Code, because I'll break this down to you like, oh my God, I do that shit all the time. Like, yeah, a lot of you are like, oh yeah, I wouldn't do that, and yet you've done it. Maybe not this exact scenario, but you've done stuff like this all the time. You don't realize it. So here's how a woman or someone being indirect would say it. Now remember, the right brain is the social brain. Would you say that being at a gathering of friends at a party is a social event? Yes, that's why they call it a social gathering. You're supposed to be in your right brain when you're at a party, at a club, even at a business party. That is a social gathering where you're supposed to be in your right brain. The right brain is the social brain, and guess what? It is the relationship brain. The left brain is not meant for you to come home to your wife and be Mr. Logical over dinner. No, that's when you're supposed to let go. What's the phrase they say? Don't take your work home with you. Leave it at work. It literally means get out of your logical brain. But a lot of you guys say, well, what do you mean? Like, number one, a lot of you guys are like, well, is there another choice? Yeah, it's called your right brain. But a lot of you have never accessed that brain consciously in your entire life. Even when you're there for a split moment, you didn't know you were there. This is what I teach you how to do. There's a series of steps that I will teach you how to access the social brain for social power. Have you ever wondered why some people just move up the ladder swiftly? It's because they're right brain people. They've developed their right brain social skills, which gives you social power. It gives you social influence, and on and on and on. There was a seminar. It was a Tony Robbins seminar, but it was a weekend seminar, and it was taught by Dr. Bob Bays, the head psychologist at Syracuse University School of Psychology. Okay, this was back around 97, I'm going to guess. Something like that, 96, 97, 98. And it was in San Francisco, and he was teaching about influence, okay? And he brought up Dr. Robert Cialdini's book. He was a professor at Arizona State. He wrote a book called Influence. And yes, I did go to Arizona State. So I don't remember if Robert Cialdini said it in his book or if it was what Dr. Bob had a realization of. So here he is teaching us some NLP skills that Tony Robbins wanted him to teach us. And I think it was a woman who raised her hand, and she said something about how women are more influential and the right brain is the influential brain, which is the female brain, etc. Now, by the way, men and women both have a left and right brain, if I didn't say that already. The problem is women are left and right brain, whereas men just stay in their left brain because you're born doing that. You can open up, but you never develop it, whereas women work on it at a very young age. We're talking like 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. For sure, when they first hit puberty, they definitely begin actually physically, step by step, working on developing skill sets. My friend's daughters, his twin daughters, I remember one day I was sitting on the couch watching TV, and Sarah came home and she was really upset about something that happened at school. They were like in 8th grade or 7th grade. And I kind of sat there and I was just watching this interaction. And True, her sister, twin sister, goes, well, when boys are mean to me like that, the way I deal with it is blah, blah, blah. And she shared this right brain strategy that she uses to get over being hurt emotionally. And I was like, wow, that's really awesome. And I thought, in a million years, I didn't know girls started doing this at such a young age. So it's not just self-soothing, it's also about, oh, well, here's how you can get a teacher to give you a better grade. They share these right brain influence tips back and forth. And this is like when they're little kids. So by the time a girl is 16 years old, she can literally influence a grown man. And I am not kidding. When my goddaughter was in high school, I watched these teenage girls manipulate the crap out of their dads. I mean, it was like those men didn't have a chance. Most of these men were millionaires. But by the way, my goddaughter got a scholarship to go to this elite high school. It was $15,000 a semester, and that didn't even include the books. Sean Penn's daughter was going to school with my goddaughter at the same time. And Carlos Santana's daughter was going to that school too. They both live in the city that I live in here. So, and then there's a couple other, like, here's the point. These are where the billionaires and the 100 millionaires send their children. This is one of those schools. Now, my goddaughter had actually been to a couple of my trainings where I teach men communication skills, right brain influence, etc., etc. And there were times when we were sitting there watching like one of these girls manipulate their fathers, and she'd look at me and I'd nod like, yep, I see it. See, that's another thing. There's a whole hidden language, body language, a nod, a look that you will understand it's been done in front of you your entire freaking lives and you never knew it. So me and my goddaughter would have these codes and nods and like, yep, and we'd giggle and laugh and, you know, watching this girl just manipulate the hell out of the father. And the father was literally like a deer in headlights, completely blind, like has blinders on like a racehorse. With leather blinders on the left side and the right side, you only see what's straight forward. Well, here's the deal. When you look straight forward like that, women can manipulate around your mental blind spots, and they do it all the time. Now, here's the deal. When you learn to drop the blinders, which is what I teach you in the course, all of a sudden, you're going to notice a lot of women are noticing you. They begin to... It's a very subtle art of flirting. Keyword subtle. I want you to look it up in the dictionary because a lot of guys don't have a clue what the word subtle means. It's very subtle, but when you lower the blinders, it becomes very obvious. They will not directly, male brain, walk up to you and say, I like you, I think you're hot, let's have sexual intercourse. They will not do that. But when they do it in the female language, in the female world, it's considered direct, even though it's subtle. Men miss it all the time, and women will look at you, or they'll later on say, "Oh my God, I practically threw myself at this guy. What else could I have done? Stripped naked and told him I wanted to have sex with him?" Guys, I'm telling you, when you start seeing it from the right brain, you're going to be like, "Holy shit, women are flirting all the time." Like, yeah, women flirt with men all the time, and men don't see it. In fact, there's something I've been doing to you in all of my videos, and I do it throughout the entire training. And I'll tell you at the very end what I've been doing. It's a very right brain thing. Technically a right brain process. So, the way you would communicate was, instead of saying, hey, you're fat, you need to lose weight, you need to join the gym and get on the treadmill, which is pretty freaking rude. You need to get on a diet. I mean, God, you couldn't be more rude if someone paid you to or planned it. So here's how a woman would say it. She would say, hey, you know what, Sally? Did you hear about Tina? You mean Tina from the store? Yeah, that Tina. You know what? She joined the gym. They have this special deal going on, and it's for only $39.99 if you join up this month, and you don't have to do a down payment or, whatever. She got on that program, and she also got on the dietitian programs, and they changed her diet around, and they had her take these 2 different vitamins. She's already lost 20 pounds. Can you believe that? She looks great, and her confidence is through the roof. And you know what? She's dating like crazy now. In the female language, what did that literally mean? That literally meant you're fat, join the gym, get on the damn treadmill, get on a diet, and start taking some diet pills, and then you're going to start dating again and get married eventually. Now, you think I'm joking? Every woman would look at me and be like, well, why do you have to explain that to them? I'm like, because they would never get that. Now, this is a bonus right here. I wasn't planning on doing this, but it really fits in right here. There's something called double pictures. It's how you indirectly communicate. You say A, which is only symbolic. The right brain language is symbolic. And all women are aware of this, okay? They literally speak a different language and they process it differently. One of the processes is double pictures. You say A, but you don't mean A. You mean something else B. Now, right now, a lot of you guys are blowing your lids off. Going, why would anyone say A but not mean A but mean B? Because it's very rude. You can't walk up to a woman in front of her mother and say, hey, I'd love to twist your nipples. Her mother and father can probably smack you upside the head. Not only that, but the direct way of communicating about sex really, really turns women off because neurologically, that's the way they're wired. When you do it in the direct way, they're just like, wow, what a crude asshole. So yes, women do want to be turned on, but it has to be done in the indirect way. And this will make her chase you. Because it literally not only melts her heart, it turns her mating system on and makes her kinky, what I call kinky horny. It makes her horny as fuck. And she's going to want some. So I had this group it wasn't Chamber of Commerce, but it was another group that's been around for a long, long time, and it was like mostly old people. They're all like around late 50s, 60s, and it was men and women, husbands and their wives, and I cannot for the life of me remember it, but we actually did the Pledge of Allegiance to start, which is like, wow, I haven't heard that since I was a kid. So the women invited me and they wanted me to give a presentation about my discovery and communication and all that stuff. And I brought up the subject of double pictures and like, okay, well, what do you mean? I go, well, you know, sometimes how women will say A, but they don't mean A, they mean something indirectly B. And they're like, no, don't know what you mean. Because their husbands have screamed at them for this. And this is why there's this coldness. Like you could tell between these men and women, they were like not talking. Like you could tell there's just this cold, bitter anger. And this is what happened when women try to be indirect. Men will punish them for it. I had one client when I was saying, hey, you know, now by the way, he just went through his second divorce and this was a multi-millionaire. This is a very direct, linear, logical dude. Did not want to let go, wanted to hold on to the logic. And I said, well, this is called double pictures. Sometimes you say A, but you don't mean A. It actually means something more meaningful, deeper, B. This guy said, what? And his face turned instantly red. And I started explaining how it's a symbolic language. You know, A is just symbolic of what you're actually trying to say. B, blah, blah. And the more I talked, he got red. He literally started getting beads of sweat. And I'm looking at this guy like, man, he looked like he's going to blow a flute, blow a fuse. And this guy, he eventually interrupted me. He just goes, why would anyone say A but not mean A? He goes, that's funny. He literally goes, that's insane. I'm like, well, because this is how, and the more I tried to describe it, the angrier he got. He goes, that's, and he stood up, slammed his fist into the wooden table. He goes, that's fucking crazy. And he stormed out and slammed my door. So I literally said out loud to myself, well, I said it out loud in my actual room. And I said, well, we know why he just went through his second divorce. So as I'm talking to this group, the men are just looking at me like, wait, what are you saying? This doesn't make, and I could tell it in their face, like, and I think one man actually goes, that doesn't make any sense. And I go, okay, for example, and then what I did was I went over to the male language and said, and I started communicating it to the male brain, and all the men in the crowd literally looked at me and went, oh, like this lifelong mystery was revealed. Now, I didn't break it down for you here because this video would be like another half an hour longer or even an hour long. And all the men in the group went, oh, like, holy shit, that's what women have been saying, our wives have been saying to us. And then a woman that was kind of close to me goes, well, why did you say that? Because now watch this, because I went into the linear left brain language, all the women got pissed off. They crossed their arms, crossed their legs, and they gave me this fuck you look. Like, they were mad. They were really mad. Now, this is how easy it is to piss off a woman when you don't speak their language. And all of us men speak the male language, and you cannot deny that. So I said to her, so they can understand. And she looked at me. She goes, wait a minute. You mean they didn't understand it the first time? I'm like, no, because that's the female language. And all the women went, oh. See, all this time when women speak indirectly to men, they assume that you think and process in the way that they do. Because they don't know any better, because they're wired that way. And it's the same as you. You try to buy her flowers and get chrome rims and wax your car and polish your tires and get a haircut to look good because your mating system is connected to your eyes. Hers is not. It's connected to her right brain's communication center, and it's done by doing it in the indirect way. So what I'm saying is we are so different from each other that we both assume, well, she's just like me. In fact, we don't even say that. We just think, yeah, I'm going to turn around, I'm going to pay for dinner, I'm going to open the door, pull out the chair. None of this has anything to do with turning her on sexually. Romance to a woman. See, here's the deal. You think romance is pulling out chairs, paying for dinner, opening the door, being proper. That has nothing to do with romance. Romance is literally the equivalent in the female language for seduction. She wants to be sexually turned on. Women want to be romanced, which means seduced. Buying her roses, paying for dinners, pulling out chairs. Women are like, wait, you mean men think that that's romancing us? And I'm like, yeah, they think by paying for an expensive dead piece of meat on an expensive Chinaware plate, that somehow that's going to magically turn you on. They're like, why? Do you know why I'm a communication expert? Because it turns women on. Listen closely. Her mating system has a nerve that curves over to her right brain's communication center. Communication turns women on, specifically the right brain hidden language, the internal language. So I'm at this meeting with all these old people who are married and bitter and cold and angry, and they're having these aha moments. And then I started talking about double pictures, and this one woman, she was very proud that she was a businesswoman, and she's very intellectual and logical, and she had over the years developed that part of her brain, and she was very proud of that, respectfully so, because it takes an effort for women to learn how to develop that part of their brain. Whereas the right brain, they do it automatically, unconsciously. They're born using it. So she was very proud of saying, well, I don't do that. And then I go, well, what do you mean? And she literally went into this double picture. She said A, but she didn't mean A. She meant B, blah, 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 indirectly communicated it. And then at the end she goes, well, what do you mean? I go, that's what I mean. And she went, huh? She was, oh, I do that all the time. I'm like, yeah. I go, you're a lot more indirect than you realize. Even women that pride themselves on being logical, they're just as indirect as the average woman. It's like being born in Mexico. You're going to speak Spanish without even realizing it. It's not like you're taught it unconsciously. Like, I speak English, and I'm like, why are we taking English classes? I already know how to speak English. It didn't make sense to me because it's so automatic. You don't even think, you just do. And that's what women do when it comes to this indirect language. And when men don't do it, they're like, God, why are men so crude? Why are they so disrespectful? Why are they so rude? So there's something that I've been doing throughout all of my videos, including this one. I've been doing the same thing as in the circle, in the group. Instead of being direct, I was doing something that woman, I forget which one, was her sister or whoever, said, oh, you should... did you hear about Tina? Well, Tina joined the gym, blah, blah, blah. What they did was they told a story. So stories, examples, and metaphors are the indirect way of communicating. So instead of saying, you need to join the gym, you fatty, and lose some weight, you share a story about someone else who did it. And believe it or not, but every woman in that group, including the woman being spoken to, will understand, like, oh, you're indirectly telling me I should go join a gym and lose some weight. See, here's the thing. The message is the same. It's just the presentation that's different. When you do it in that way, her right brain understands it and it's comfortable with it. If you've listened this far along, guess what? You felt comfortable with it too, because I've used nothing but examples and metaphors and stories the entire time, from the old men and women in the group, teaching them this, and the women got offended, crossed their arm. Everything I've been doing is using metaphors, examples, and stories. This is a process I will teach you in my course, Crack to Female Code. And guess what? Once you learn these processes, it's like you'll speak forever. And women love it when a man can speak and tell stories. There's a certain set of steps and patterns that I'll teach you how to do, and it will make it super easy. Being able to tell stories and examples is a huge value to the female mating system. If you want to learn more about this, buy my book, Cracked Female Code. Alright guys, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.